Hey besties, welcome to my very first YouTube video. My name is Natalia, but you know me as Claws London, your overall go-to nail tech and beauty enthusiast. If you're obsessed with nails, the beauty industry, and all the juicy gossip that goes down at the salon, then you're in the right place. So if you're ready to take your nails and your clientele to the next level, hit that subscribe button and join the Claws gang. I can't wait to share all of the fun tips and tricks that I've got up my sleeve. Let's get started. For my first video, we're going to bring it back to the basics, back to the beginning, and back to where we kind of struggled the most when we first got started. We're going to go over how to pick up an acrylic bead. When we're working with picking up an acrylic bead, we want to grab our acrylic brush, 100% Kolinsky, of course. This is something that you want to make sure that you're using just so that you're not getting any acrylic caught in the brush, so that the brush isn't deteriorating as you're dipping it into your monomer. Your monomer is filled with a lot of chemicals, so plastic bristles will tend to deteriorate and then just have acrylic continue getting caught up in it. So when we're working with our brush, we want to make sure that it's 100% Kolinsky hair for that reason. When we're working with picking up a bead of acrylic, we want to use our monomer, our purple liquid, as our activating agent to help form our acrylic from a powder to a paste-like substance that we can then form onto the nail. The question is, how do I know what size I need to pick up? How do I know how to pick up a proper size bead? All of these things are typically asked by beginners. So what we want to focus on is our brush first. With our brush, we want to make sure that we're working with a very flat brush, that it has two sides. So like this, like this. You never really want to have your brush bunched up in the middle, just because you're going to be getting acrylic caught in between and stuck in the bristles more times than none. Now that we have our flat brush, we're going to go ahead and dip it into our monomer, making sure that we're focusing on not having any air pockets remaining in the brush. When we put that brush into the monomer and hit it against the bottom of the dish, we can see all of those little air bubbles start to come to surface. What we want to make sure we're doing is putting it in the monomer until you don't see any more of those air bubbles, to guarantee that you have your brush fully submerged through with it. After that, we're going to decide what size bead we're picking up. To start, we're going to start working with a small bead. With a small bead, we're going to take the tip of our brush and we're going to tap it off on the side of our dish, and we're just going to go 1, 2, 3. When you're releasing liquid from the brush, you never want to be swiping as a beginner, just because you can't really determine how much liquid you're actually taking out of the brush, as liquid is consistently pouring out when you're swiping, rather than when you're tapping. You can see that you're going in and releasing liquid just on those taps. Now we're going to go in with the opposite side of our brush into our acrylic powder. When we're dipping into our acrylic powder, we want to make sure that we're focusing on keeping a very flat brush, so that we're not approaching the acrylic powder straight on to get it caught on both sides. Otherwise, we will be going in and getting acrylic stuck within the brush, and it will also just make the bead harder for you to release on the nail. When we're going in, 1, 2, 3, opposite side of the brush. And then we're going to go in and tap just the tip of the brush, so just this little darker part at the very tip. And then we're going to go bounce, bounce, bounce. And there we have our small bead of acrylic. Now going in for a medium-sized bead, we are going to use a larger portion of the brush to help us pick up a bigger size, while also leaving more monomer within our brush. So when we are going in and picking up the acrylic with a small bead, we focused on just getting it on that darker area. With a medium bead, we are going to bring it up the brush a little bit more, just so that we can pick up a bigger size bead, but then also pick up a size that's thicker in volume. So we're going to go tap, tap, and then we are going to go into our acrylic, and we are going to go tip to body, digging it a bit deeper. 1 hold, and then 2 hold. When we're picking up our beads, we really want to focus on letting our acrylic pick up more acrylic and not digging in deeper into the powder. What I mean by this we are going to tap, tap, and then I am gonna go in one hold, and then when I bounce back in, I'm just gonna focus on letting that bead bounce back in. I'm not going to dig my brush in even deeper, just so that I'm not running into the problem of having my bead uneven and bringing the acrylic up higher than I'm aiming to. Now if we're going in and picking up a large bead, we are going to fully submerge our brush through, and then we're just going to tap once, and then same thing, tip to body of the brush, and we are going to go in one hold, two hold, three hold, getting us what looks like the same size, but is just a little bit thicker for us to work with. Keep in mind the size of your brush will always play a big part of what the size of the beads end up coming out as. For example, if I were to use a size 2 brush and use the same method, I would go in, tap once, and then I would go in one hold, two hold, three hold. This size bead for a large is nothing in comparison to the large size bead from my size 20 brush. So keeping in mind the difference in brush size will always play a massive part in the types of beads that you can pick up. For beginners, the average brush size that's recommended is usually from an 8 to a 12, just based on how comfortable you are with working with these sizes. But that doesn't mean that you can't pick up smaller beads with larger brushes. For example, if we are going to be picking up an extra small bead, I know that I can go in just with the corner of my brush and pick up exactly how much product I might need to be able to fill in the area that I'm working on. Knowing that I've only released the same amount of liquid that is needed for a true size small bead, I would go in and drain this bead onto paper towel so I can release some of that liquid, making sure that it's not going to be too runny. So now I've gone in and dirtied my monomer to give you guys an example. Here is some cloudy monomer that has acrylic mixed into it, usually the result of somebody that isn't cleaning out their brush properly throughout the process of doing nails, or even just generally working with a lot of different colored acrylics, glitter acrylics, anything like that. Your monomer does tend to get clouded up a lot quicker than if you were to be working on an average set of just a solid color. So now, taking a look at these two, you can see that difference. You always want to make sure that your monomer is as clear and as clean as possible to be able to give you the best results in picking up your beads. This could be something that you take a look at and see, okay, maybe this is why my beads aren't being picked up properly. But if we're going in and using this clouded monomer, it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't work. The only difference is that it could be a lot runnier. Your beads could not be drying the way that you want them to. They could remain a lot more gooey. And you also could just not be picking up the amount of product that you want to be for the amount of liquid that you're releasing. You could be picking up less liquid powder, but then it's going to make the beads dry a little bit quicker or slower. There's a lot of different things that could come of using a clouded monomer. The other thing that you want to take a look at if you're not picking up beads properly, let's say we've gone in and cleaned our monomer, it could also be your brush as well. So if you're never sure if you've gotten acrylic stuck in your brush, the good thing that you could do is just go in and separate your bristles and see if you see any webbing between any of your bristles. If you see that your bristles are separating properly and you're not seeing any acrylic starting to web in between them, then your brush is good and you don't have to worry. But that's something else that you could look out for, and just making sure that your brush is as clean as possible. Okay guys, that's it for today's tutorial, video, whatever you want to call it. A little bit of information on how to pick up a proper bead of acrylic, how to make it work for you, and maybe what's going on if it's not working for you. I hope this helped. If you liked it, please like and comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to see coming up on this channel, because I have so many ideas, but I also want to hear from you guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and until next time, see you later, clogging.